It's really
Hello.
unfortunate because hi there.
Yeah.
Apparently we switched sides. I don't know.
Yeah.
He
I
says we
don't.
switched sides.
Unless I just don't remember. I don't know. I literally woke up. I woke up at 7. So, which is when we usually record. And then I explained a joke to my mother,
Oh,
and
that's always fun.
I got coffee, and now I'm here. That's hot.
Thanks for the play-by-play. I appreciate it.
Yes. Um, we're back, ready to attack,
We are back.
commit war crimes.
My favorite thing in the world.
Yep, it's mine too. I was gonna keep going with that, and my lawyer says that I'm not supposed to, so we're gonna move
Oh, you're getting
on.
contacted by the lawyer?
I'm getting
Oh.
contacted by the lawyer saying, please don't mention any groups of people.
Oh, okay.
So we're gonna move on from that one. Last week it was mostly talking. We were discussing the beginnings of our feature film. This is good because in order to write a feature film, discussions must be had on how to go about writing said feature film.
This is true.
The episode today we are going to continue that conversation and maybe possibly start the beat sheet slash.
Yep.
Well, it's beat sheet slash just like basic world information and character information, I would say.
Yeah. So more groundwork. So probably a bit more talking, but hopefully by the end of this episode, we'll actually start putting words on the paper and getting set up for what will become a really cool feature. We did. I will go ahead and tell our audience. Cole and I did have a couple conversations off screen about our idea, so that we would come in with some things to talk about. And actually, Cole, if you don't mind, I've developed something for you. Let's see if I can share this.
Shit, I didn't develop anything. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, let's see this.
Cole, allow me to present to you. Hold on. Can you see this?
Hold. Yes.
Holding.
Well,
All right, cool. Oh.
I can see the Discord.
No.
Whoa! I saw like
Hold on.
multiple versions of us. That was so crazy.
We're getting a peek into the alternate realities, I guess.
Okay.
How about now?
Oh my god.
No, still
No,
very many.
No. It's a the PowerPoint. I see the PowerPoint. I see my feature
Okay,
film
cool.
ideas by Braydan Kirkland.
This is my feature film ideas. All right.
Uh-huh.
I put them all onto a PowerPoint, so it's a bit more visually interesting than me just saying it.
Uh-huh.
But I've had some time to think about it. I did some research. I looked at at least one movie to pull from, and I'm going to share what I think. Are you ready?
I'm ready. I've never been more
All right,
ready
let's
for
get into it.
Whoa.
I forgot I added photos.
Yes.
There's another one. One of my favorites.
Okay.
All right, let's move on.
Yes.
A disclaimer. I should probably say this at the front end. We don't have to do any of these. I'm just sharing some thoughts I had that would be fun. I think your premise gives us a lot of room to really explore lore-centered world building and fun character dynamics. But I also think we have an opportunity to tell a really moving, tense, and overall fun story. I know we both had reservations in our conversations of straight up copying Bloodborne. It's a video game that we developed the idea from, like, spread it off of. And my belief is some of these alterations will help us to move away from that source material and also just create something that is truly and wholly our own. I realized that the text got cut off there.
Yeah, I see part of the word erection though, so I'm kind of pleased with that.
Oh, that's probably what I said. You're right. Okay. You smell that? That's right. I'm the shit.
You are.
Okay, cool.
Regardless of how...
smoking.
Yeah, that's me.
And okay, let's move. What is that? No, I definitely don't remember adding that.
Me when.
What does that say? Let's just move on. Oh, that's right.
Fuck no.
Daylight horror. I think we both said and we agreed that dark and colorless would be no fun. It's been happening. The grimy, dark, like all night. I can barely see what's happening on the screen. Horror movies that we've had for decades now.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a little played out. Where I think as an audience we're tired of it, and also I think me and you writing the story, we kind of agreed that something with a little bit more color would be interesting. I take that a step further. Daylight horror. All of the big horror bits are in broad daylight. All the scariest parts, all the bloodiest parts, which is an interesting limitation because usually shrouding in darkness is a easy way to get good scares. But I think it'll force us to be a bit more creative and think about some of these things a little bit harder, which I think limitations as a writer is always a good thing. Mm-hmm. Makes you be more creative. All right, and it gives us a cool style and distinct story mechanic to play with. Like, how does the sun affect the monsters and infected humans? Usually, like vampires in the night, they can't get out in the sun. How do we work around this? How do we use the sun to our advantage? You know, oh, that's my girlfriend, by the way. That she sent me a bunch of pictures of her as banana.
Yeah, that's me.
All right. We did mention this a couple times. Oh, at least I mentioned this once or twice. A setting swap. I know we had the idea of doing 1700s British Isles, and we think that or Bloodborne kind of has the same setting more or less. A setting swap, just off the rip, gives our story its own identity. We have aesthetics and cultures and things like that we can pull from to develop the lore and the visual style, and it also informs our characters. So there's another my girlfriend. What is that? What does that say? What is it? Oh, it says cock now.
Yeah, cock now.
That's
yeah.
That's great.
It's on fire.
Real mature.
I practice that on a daily basis.
Some of my setting options, I have 4 to pitch to you right now, just off rip. All right, medieval Ireland. We're setting it during the Anglo-Norman invasion, so when the people in mainland Britain were invading Ireland. So maybe they don't know about the monster problem in Ireland, and now some of these like Norman characters are experiencing monsters for the first time. We have the beautiful scenery. You know, Ireland is a very gorgeous place, and also castles are cool. Side character could be a Norman, so from British invading Ireland, and our protagonist could be Irish. So they have to come together for something, but just based on where they're coming from, there's already a huge ideal conflict in what they believe in, what their philosophy is. That's interesting. Oh, well, that's an Irish person, I guess.
That's also me.
American Wild West. You know, we have a lawless society. There's a bit of a palpable tension outside of the monsters. So, like, everyone kind of wants to fight each other. Everyone hates each other. There's already a history of North American cryptids to possibly play with. We don't have to do, like, oh, there's Bigfoot or, like, stuff like that. But there's, like, a history of these types of monsters that we can, like, invert, subvert, play with. And also just the idea of a gunslinging monster hunter is kind of cool. There's a... Alright. Option 3. The Crusades. I picked out the 3rd and the 4th particularly because we have the Knights Templars. And also the 4th one particularly, we have Byzantine, where they're all going to fight there. So we have that forward momentum and like the road trip location bouncing archetype where we're encountering monsters along the journey, you know, as like we have an end goal, we have an end destination in sight, we're moving towards that, and along the way we're hitting roadblocks In some cases, it may literally just be a monster on the road, things like that. Protagonists could feel conflict going on this journey. Like I know the whole idea of the Templars, they believe they were killing for God. Like we're doing this for the better of society. There's some like moral conflicts there for the character to go on. Reimagining the Knights Templar as like a monster hunting cult, we did talk about like this idea of a monster hunting cult that turned out to be a bit more evil than many envisioned, and especially that the people in the organization were not fully aware. So like there's something to play with on that. And the Byzantine, or wherever the characters are going towards, it could be Asia even, I know we mentioned that a couple times. But it's the other society that's not harmed by the monsters, that's a bit more elevated, a bit better off, like that kind of things. And the Templars and like the church and the people, they don't believe that's fair, so maybe that's like the reason why they're going out to their holy moly, get it, because the church.
Holy, yeah.
Modern warfare, I said that constitutes any war between World War I and the war in Iraq, or the war on terror. So the backdrop of a war in particular, with monster influences, could just be very tense, very interesting. It's an opportunity to tell like a tight thriller with any kind of character we want. Anybody could be fighting in this war, depending on which one we choose, like things like that. And bringing a monster horror into a more modern lens by having it set against a war. Very interesting. He's holding a gun, so that's cool. My third suggestion is we do a stripped down plot. Okay? I watched a movie called The Headhunter. It's from 2018. Have you heard of this movie or seen this movie?
No, I have not.
Well, I did some research of like similar kind of movies. This is one of the first options that came up. So I watched it, or at least like I skimmed most of it. And that movie does a lot of things right that I think that we're kind of striving to do. There was monster hunting, like the main character was a monster bounty hunter for the English feudal society. He had blood magic. He was literally like making elixirs of his blood to like heal himself, like they do in Bloodborne and such. And that does come back again at the end. I won't spoil it, but like someone else that we don't want to use the blood elixir uses it. But I think one of the most effective weapons it has narrative wise is how restrained and cleverly bare the story is. That's probably to do with like the film's budget. It was a very independent film, so it was a very small budget. But so they had limitations, but they used it in such a creative way, much like the early Jaws with Steven Spielberg, using the monster kind of sparingly because like the animatronics weren't that great. But in that spirit, we could give our characters some space to breathe. Our monsters have a more opportunity to be truly scary or like really fun if we want to do more action-based stuff instead of more horror-based. And our overall script can be a little bit better. It has a little bit better of a way of being different and still entertaining. We get to do a refreshing spin on horror. We get to do a smart way to do action. I think some like all the like bare kind of stripped down plots of action, like John Wick is probably the best example of something that's so stripped down but really, really high octane, high adrenaline, something fun. And I know we want to do drama elements too. This is how you do a really good drama, is by kind of stripping down, doing a minimalist type approach. We don't have to do this stuff with fluff. We can cut out anything that seems a bit unnecessary. Each scene will matter. Each line of dialogue will really say something towards the character. And we get to do a super fun story without too many bells and whistles, which I think is always super entertaining. Here's a poster of the movie. It's super rad, just like the movie is. So, yeah.
Yes. This has made this better.
Oh, anyways, and almost to wrap things up, we want it to be fun. I think that's on the top of the list.
I disagree.
It has
at this
to be.
Point.
You disagree with fun?
Yeah, but only in the aspect that I don't think we should be having fun with this.
It shouldn't be too much fun. It shouldn't be too much fun.
Huh. Okay.
It shouldn't be too much fun.
So you brought my point. You predicted my point.
And I agree with you. It should be fun, but not too much fun. No, I'm just kidding. It should be fun, but a reasonable amount.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
This should basically be our emotional outlook. I think this kind of perfectly encapsulates.
Yes.
So that's pretty much all I have to say. Oh, what did you think? What do you think of some of the ideas that I brought out? Where's your head at?
Well, I think I've learned
Just ignore it.
that I've loved a great cock on fire. That's one of the major points that I took away from this. And in the fact that it's happening right now it just adds so much more to it. But all
right.
I'm gonna bring us back.
I'm
okay.
Getting rid of this.
Mm-hmm. You're asking me to throw away our setting.
I'm not asking. I am suggesting alternatives.
I thought you were gonna be like, I'm telling, but that would have been really
No, I'm
funny.
not telling.
Okay.
That would be funny, but I'm not that. I'm not cruel. That's not my persona. That's your persona.
Let me say this. I actually really like the Wild West idea, and here's why. I don't think I've ever seen a movie that is going to do what we are going to do with that time period and setting.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was thinking too.
Like maybe zombies or just vampires. We're gonna do a collection of monsters in this world, and I would even argue that the European and Asian world is still separate from it, and we could still keep that storyline intact and send our secondary character over the Atlantic or the Pacific or whatever to then be stuck in, I guess, North America.
Yeah, and I think that there's like the Wild West is such an interesting. I keep saying interesting. It's such a much like what many people believe America is, and I think is true. It's a melting pot. There's so many different people here, and that was even true back then in America. And so we can have our secondary character come over. I mean, this is like the height of the Wild West was late 1700s or like early 1800s. So witch hunting kind of stuff may have been a little outdated, but there's still, I think there's a way to do a thing where we have this character be an outcast of some sort, especially if we're gonna bring the monsters in. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that they would still do witch hunts in this universe. Like, I think we don't have to be bound by reality. I think that I think that's a fun storyline of this character being like an outcast in this, and our protagonist has to work with them for whatever reason.
Yeah, I almost wonder if it would be more interesting to change our secondary character to our main protagonist. And
I had the same thought.
But so
I think
my thought is, hold on, hold the horses.
I'm holding.
She gets infected because we keep talking about this like beast infection. She gets infected, and she has to go over there to kind of maybe find her cure. Now, that's a thought I've just now had. I don't know. Oh, yeah.
I think that's... Okay, I'm letting go of the horses now. That's really fun. I think that's really interesting, especially if we're setting up this character to be their... we decided she was a woman. That her internal conflict was that she's being branded as a witch or an outsider. She's literally been kicked out of her home, and she's trying to be kicked out of this new home, the only place that she was able to run off to. And we find out later on in the story that there's some truth to that. Like, she is a bit of an outsider because she's been infected, but it's not what everyone believes. There's a cure, but no one is like willing to help her except for our secondary character, the monster hunter. That's really fun. I think that would be really interesting. That's a fun roller coaster to go on, and I think kind of plays with the notion of rooting for a protagonist, which I always find interesting. Making a character that is at first like really easy to root for, then a little hard, and then we kind of go back around full circle. Like this character was always like the most reasonable and coolest person in the story. Like I think that's interesting.
And I think it's gonna be better to do. See, now I'm thinking about the action pieces, because she would be not like gunslinger based. She would be more martial arts based. If she's still coming from Asia, I guess maybe.
Yeah, possibly.
They didn't do gunslinging well, they didn't do gunslinging in Europe either. So I guess
Yeah.
Either way, but so
that also gives our different characters a different style of fighting, which I think is always going to be.
But they can train each other, in a sense, become closer, and there's a development cycle there. But then also, like, the Wild West world is so. And I would even argue that we bring back the nighttime stuff with that, because in most cases, the Wild West is at high noon. And that would change up that setting a bit more if we did, not like constant night, but like we had some lore there that made like nighttime worse or something. Maybe there's a thing there. Not that the monsters don't come out during the day, but like maybe there's a way to kind of make that setting more unique.
Yeah.
Because if we had stayed...
Okay, yeah, I can see with that.
If we had stayed in like the 1700s London thing, nighttime... That would be kind of just like mimicking the other stuff. But in this case, I feel like it would be irresponsible of us to not utilize nighttime.
You're probably right. I think that's true. I think what now, if we are going to do Wild West, there should be a mix. Because I think we need to satisfy the subversion of Western tropes always being in the day, and also subversion of horror movies always being at night.
I agree. Yeah.
There's no way to tell that like this is half day, half night, or some really key day scenes and some really key night scenes. Like that's, I think like a mix like that would give our film a more of a roller coaster feel.
Well, and if we decide to go
just in the day-night cycle,
really off the rails, we could just put the moon and sun in the sky at the same time and just see what happens. I mean, we're gonna dip into different magics, I feel like, and I think we can kind of expand upon that a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I don't know what magic is. Magic in the Wild West isn't like a common thing, because it's just
I want more.
Yeah, I shoot gun stuff, faster than you.
Bringing magic to,
and that's what it is.
So this is actually kind of playing with an idea I've had for a while of like doing fantasy in the Wild West, which I don't think I've seen many times, but I've always pictured, and I don't think that we have to do this, but this could be a character or something. But I've always had the vision of like a gunslinging wizard, like they can like change their bullet rounds to like be a different spell and like something like that.
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be like wizard magic, but like different rounds to do different like magical things.
So you know what that reminds me of is,
what's that?
All right, everybody, let me get a little super nerdy here for a second. The Devil May Cry series has a dude who has 2 pistols, but he never reloads them. And he's like part demon. So he's always shooting, but he never has to reload them. And it's because he's magically able to insert bullets into the guns. But we would do maybe something similar, but also it would be like elemental bullets. And that was...
okay.
And I think
that's pretty cool.
That could be kind of cool, where it's like, oh, it's like a blue energy, whoa, or fire, or lightning. I don't know, so something fun.
And I think since we're pretty intent on like doing the blood magic thing, which I think is a smart call, having all of the monsters, all of the magic, be centered around a key like set of rules, like the blood magic, will be instrumental in developing the lore. Like all the monsters, like the blood magic has to abide by certain rules and affect each group of characters in a different but feasible way.
I also feel like the deeper into blood magic you are, the likelihood of you becoming more evil. And I think you put this wizard gunslinger on, my hands right off camera, on the other end of the spectrum maybe. But maybe there's a twist there where it's like he's not dipping into blood magic, but he has like motives that don't make him necessarily the best person in the world maybe. Just a thought there, but also that's your character and I don't want to step too much on that. But it's like that's kind of the thing with like hunters in my mind is like they're having to they're tapping into blood magic to help them fight the beasts, so they're always on this like seesaw teetering back and forth between good and evil. And
great
maybe
power
that's
comes great responsibility.
Exactly, and that's maybe what our main gunslinger guy kind of struggles with. And I would say that our other character coming into this scenario will eventually struggle with, because they're being introduced to all of these new elements as they explore the America. America, yeah. This is interesting. It really is. And it's like I'm still gonna get my cool ass trench coats, but it's like in another in another thing, yeah. And I almost in a lot of westerns I noticed that our like good guys wear like white hats, so it's like if we were to break that cycle maybe here, and our guy wears something not traditionally good guy, but he is like, you know,
I think he's got to wear like a dark red maroon kind of hat, like not even white, not even black, something in between.
Yeah, something in between. I mean, I don't even think I've seen. There have been 2 instances where I've seen a fantasy western. One was a mobile game, so it doesn't count. The other was made by Rockstar, and they only did zombies. So.
Oh, is that Red Dead Zombies?
Yeah, Red Dead 1.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, is that the only time you've heard about it too?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Honestly, I forgot that was a thing until you mentioned it.
Well, yeah, but they only do zombies, and I think they have a Bigfoot appearance. And they do like crazy horses, I think. But like, we're not doing that. We're doing
all kinds of different beasts.
Of stuff. Yeah. And I think like we could. I'm gonna have to do some research now, but playing with like Native American monsters. I think 2 off the top of my head is like the Wendigo and Skinwalkers.
Oh yeah, that would be really cool. I was thinking, when I first pitched the idea of the chupacabra came up, and I was like, what about like werewolf chupacabra or something?
That'd be
like
cool.
A blend between those kind of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously, I mean, of course, we have to figure out where. I feel like we go like New Mexico. Wait, no. Hold on. I need a map. We've learned that I suck at geography.
We're doing this bit again. Cole stinks at
Dude,
geography.
I suck at. Dude, I'm not.
Welcome to the writer's room, where we spend an inordinate amount of time doing other, not very related subjects, including geography.
Yeah, I just seen a map of the U.S. New Mexico's next to like Texas, I think. But I want to like pick a state that we can kind of stay in, but have different environments. Yeah, I'm right. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So, if we picked Texas, directly to the right of Texas is Louisiana and Mississippi, and we can probably, well, Louisiana has its fair share of like swamps and like greenery, whereas the left side of Texas is more desert. And then we can also have bits and pieces of Mexico, which could help tie in El Chupacabra and all that. So it's like if we...
Yeah, I kind of want to stay away from like the right side and more towards the left, just because Sinners was like Mississippi Delta, not the same time period, but doing like vampire horrors in like that, more like towards Louisiana side.
Yeah.
So like kind of staying more on like the more traditional Wild West side, I think.
See, and this is where I'm going to say go fuck yourself, because...
okay.
No, I'm kidding. Well, no, I just think we never see Westerns go into a swamp territory. I'm not saying we go there like the whole time, but maybe there's like...
That is true. There wasn't really much like swamp type stuff in Sinners. It was mostly like outside of the city, like around the cotton fields and like things like that. So like in small rural areas.
If we put ourselves in Texas, that gives us our Wild West. If we go on the left side of Texas, we go into New Mexico, maybe parts of it, or Mexico itself. But that also lets us tap into places like Louisiana, and
are there any swamps in Texas?
Bits of Arkansas.
I'm curious.
See, I don't know, and I don't know anything about Texas, but I know Louisiana's right there. And we would definitely cheat on how big Texas is. I think, but
oh, there's some gorgeous wetlands in Texas.
Okay, well then perfect.
Awesome.
So and I think we could even have a more developed urban area somewhere that's more than just the one street town. I feel like every Western town is like one main street that turns into a T.
Yeah.
So I think having like a big developed urban area would be kind of cool, but and I don't know how developed like Dallas and Austin and Houston were at this point, but that's where we would do some research, but we could also cheat on that too, because we're the gods of this world.
I don't think... Yeah, we don't have to be bound by reality, because obviously this story does not take place in our reality.
No, this happened. This is based on a true story. Right. Yeah.
I flunked history. I don't remember.
Yeah. So you passed geography, I passed history.
This is really gonna make all my history teachers upset, because I really love that. I love that subject. Anyways.
Yeah. But yeah, so having a wide range of setting that isn't just desert. Having
get out of the desert.
But then also having multiple cultures, which would be desert, Mexico, well, American kind of desert, Mexico, and then these like greenery swampland things. But then also our secondary character, wherever they come from, stop laughing at me.
Sorry. The various cultures like Mexico and desert.
Yeah. What do you call...
I'm like 45% desert.
Yeah, what do you call American desert people? I don't know. The sand people from Star Wars.
We managed to be insensitive to a culture that does not exist. That's great. Breaking new barriers on this show.
But yeah, there's definitely a lot there to explore.
Yeah.
So, and then we bring our two characters together. Which now that I'm thinking about, hang on, I gotta pull the map back up.
Get that map back up.
Hold on. I guess they could just wander across the East Coast or West Coast until they stumble into Texas, but we might have to think about how we go about that, because...
Yeah, there's like a whole backstory of like, there's a whole other movie of that character wandering to the setting of this movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's like they either come from Japan, Australia, New Zealand, Africa, or Europe. And then
Those are the many places.
Greenland and Iceland don't exist, so obviously we don't have to worry about that. And I'm going to count South America as possibly part of this situation, because they're connected to North America.
Mm-hmm.
I guess Bro could come from South Pole.
Bro could come from South Pole.
Bro could come
Penguin.
from South Pole. Wait. Oh my god. There's a whole, like... There's a whole city. No.
A whole city.
Hold on. Hold on. This is crazy.
Holding the horses again?
Look. Look what I found.
Where is that? Is that south of...
This is the south. Yeah, look. There's
South
Argentina.
Okay.
And there's just a whole, like...
I guess those are like the research stations.
Yeah, I guess so. Wow.
Pretty cool.
Elephant Island. Why is it so blurry?
Why do they call it Elephant Island? Is it because it looks like an elephant?
Yeah, I bet this is the trunk.
You must have to be really blind to see the elephant, though.
Okay, well, I see it, bro.
Okay.
I found it. Look, the trunk is right here. It's like got the ears. And then this one's just Clarence. Wow. Machu Picchu base. Why am I looking at this? But yeah,
I wasn't gonna say anything, but I don't know.
Yeah, my tangents can kind of go off the rails, as we learned.
Okay.
However long ago it was. But yeah. So, as I was explaining, audience, Texas, you have kind of swampy greenery over here, and then kind of plains in the middle, desert on the left, and then you can get into Mexico and even New Mexico, and then whatever Oklahoma is. And you know what? There's an argument to be made that somehow the ship just kind of sailed into the Gulf, I guess. Although that would be somewhat interesting. I don't know. There's an argument to be had on how they get there. But I'm excited. I like this new direction, and I think there's some designs that we can kind of pick from in terms of like guns, even kind of what melee options there are. And depending on where our foreigner comes from, we might be able to kind of get more creative with what weapons they have. Because Europe had their own guns. I don't know what Asia had in terms of guns. Back in 1870s?
That's around like the end of the Wild West, yeah.
60s?
Yeah.
1860s? So there's a lot to play with there. So this is exciting.
Incredibly exciting.
Okay. So I'm trying to think of what else in your presentation occurred. I got very fixated on Wild West because I hadn't thought of that, and I was like, oh, that's kind of brilliant. And I still think we can keep all of your lore that you had kind of half come up with in the last episode.
Yeah.
And
I
it's
think
just like, yes.
it's sparse enough to like play with,
Mm-hmm.
for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, this is the time around the time of like when the Civil War was starting to brew. So there's a divide, like even like halfway through the Civil War, like there's a big divide economically, philosophically between the North and the South, and like we're in the South, so we're in the worst, like the worst part off economically, philosophically, like morally, things like that. That's something to play with for sure.
True. And then there's also an argument to be made is how different is our history in this
Exactly.
world.
Yeah.
Which it totally could be very similar, and it's just like, there's a group of people that love slaves, and there's a group of people that don't. So we could play with that. Sorry, my intrusive thoughts are trying to win.
I don't think I want them to win.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to fight them off. My lawyer wants me to fight them off. Yeah. But yeah, there's definitely some historical events to play with, or even make up based on real historical events.
Yeah. I think honestly, like a revisionist type of thing would be pretty fun to play with, like an alternate version of some of these real events that were happening.
Well, it's like, did you ever see The Watchmen?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
the TV show version or
the movie,
film version?
The movie is what I've seen.
Movie, yeah. I've seen both of them, but yeah.
Yeah, I want to see the TV version, but it's like, I think even in the comics, it's like, it's a very, well, not very different history, but it's like a butterfly effect thing where things are turning out so different that it's like,
Yeah.
it turns into a different thing. But if we do like a thing with something similar and we take those historical events and we kind of play with that, and it doesn't even have to be like the main focus, it could just be like a reference in like the paper somewhere where it's like, this is where we're at it in history, this is what the world is like, and this would be back when newspapers were 3 cents or something, because you get one now and it's like, well, how's a magazine? I saw a magazine for $15. I'm like, oh, okay, but that's a
print's
magazine.
dead anyways. It's fine.
Well, okay, so I can't side with you on that because I am trying to come up with a novel right now. So let's not. We're not gonna go there. We should. You know what we should do is voice an audiobook. That would be hilarious. I don't know how we would do that, but.
We should write an audiobook. All right, scrap everything. We're not writing a feature anymore. We're writing a book,
an audiobook,
so we can
yeah.
write an audiobook. Although that would be there's something there's I'm just imagining, just picturing it.
Yeah.
Really.
But
what? I don't remember what we were talking about.
I don't either. I'm kind of just. I'm kind of like half here, half not. It's like.
Oh, I remember something that I wanted to go a little bit more detail into the plot of the Headhunter, which I think there's like a parallel to, not like copy, but in the spirit of a more restrained plot. So basically, what the Headhunter was about was it was medieval England, and the main character, they called him the Father, or we know him as the Father, is a monster bounty hunter for this kingdom. And every time like a horn blows and the king is asking for a ransom on a monster nearby, so the guy goes out, kills the monster, cuts off his head, and like pins it to the gate wall, so Like that's like the setup.
Mhm.
And then we find out that he had a daughter that was killed by one of these monsters, and that's like he's harboring resentment over these monsters because of that fact.
Mhm.
Basically, inciting incident. We get a call, or the father gets a call to kill a new monster. Guess who it is? It's the monster that killed his daughter. So now he's on a mission of revenge.
Mhm.
And like that's pretty much like the plot of the movie. Really, is this one man's trials and tribulations in killing this one particular monster over the course of like 75 minutes.
Okay. Yeah. I can't promise I'll watch it by our
Don't
next
have to, but
recording session, but I do think I should watch it because I think it could be really helpful.
Not only good research, but it's just a fun movie. I think it was really, really good.
Yeah, I've just Googled it and made a tab for it so I can try and remember it. But yeah, audience, we record tomorrow for Saturday.
Keep telling them our secrets.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just like that. I'm trying to explain myself if I can't get it watched by our next session.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is like, I'm not saying that we have like dead daughter, like revenge, like that kind of like thing. I'm saying a plot that these characters can go on that we can basically boil down into one sentence. There's one singular goal. We can build world off of that with like subplots and things like that. That doesn't mean that we have to do something so and minimalistic, but within the spirit of having a singular kind of goal. Every scene, like there's no fluff scenes. Every scene is in some way working towards that goal, even if we are able to sneak in like environmental storytelling in building the lore and the world around it. And every line of dialogue is economical. Each character is like saying something that's building towards the eventual plot. You know, being smart in how we plot this out. If we have that mindset going in, it's going to save us a lot from having to make like sweeping edits later on, or realizing that this is all just like fluff with nothing really, no forward momentum.
Yeah.
So being able to like come up with like a razor sharp focus.
Yeah, I agree, sir. But I mean, yeah, I just kind of agree. I like this. I like this new direction. It's nothing like what I wanted, but I like this new direction.
I still think we can keep the spirit of the original
No,
idea.
we can't.
I think that
No, it's dead. It died.
Okay,
you
then.
murdered it brutally. You took a wire and you just like, and then just that was it. So, and
I'm not proud of it. If that makes you feel any better, I'm not proud of it.
You did this to an infant.
What with the babies again? I just know that this is gonna be a running gag now, and I just have to accept it.
It is a really good metaphor, though. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think this is gonna become a much better idea than what was initially sparked, which I think was the goal anyway. And I think I'm possibly even more behind this idea than I was with the last one. But again, we kind of have to do it right.
Yes.
Because we're doing a Wild West, almost like Transylvania scary combination. So we have to combine those elements in a way that makes it unique, but also doesn't stray too far away from what somebody would want out of those genres.
Yeah, exactly. I think we're playing with two different genres that are probably more than any other genre in film and in fiction in general have rules, have expectations, have tropes. Like everyone can name, like like a random audience member can name like a horror trope, like, oh, there's always the final girl. Like, oh, it's the cabin in the woods. Like, oh, the monster's gonna, or the killer's gonna come up behind. There's monsters. Everyone knows what the vampire lore is, like things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And also there's so like Westerns are almost like an institution
Mm-hmm.
in this country. They're so expected to be a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And by just the very act that we're crushing them together, I don't think we need to stray very far from what has already been built. Just the sheer meshing together. And if this turns into like a franchise or a series or something, then we can play with those tropes. But just for the one, like for this movie, I think don't really need to. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. I think we're already putting two wheels together. We're making a bicycle. And bicycles don't need triangle wheels.
I thought you were gonna make like a tank tread out of that because you merge the wheels together, so it would be like a tank tread.
Oh, that works too.
Yeah. But yeah, I agree. Taking from what's already in the world, we'll probably need to do a bunch of research, but I think at least, I mean, we still have some time, but I think especially next time, we'll definitely start working on mostly plot and then kind of figuring out the lore behind the world at the same time. Audience, this is going to take us forever to kind of get structured, but I feel like once, and Braydan, tell me to shut the fuck up if I'm wrong, but
okay,
once we get started on...
Shut the fuck up?
Okay.
Okay.
No, you've done this. Okay.
You loaded a gun and put it right in front of me.
I did.
I don't know what you expected to happen. No, but please, actually, no. Continue.
I don't want to.
Oh.
No.
I'll continue for you.
Oh.
You know, once.
But yeah, so I think once we get started on, like, getting, like, once we're past the basic architecture of this, it will kind of start going like exponentially faster. Like once we get into the script itself, I think we will be done before we know it, and we'll be on to season 3 of the writers' room, high-fiving each other like nothing ever happened, or something. Well,
I don't know. If, I don't know if I said this off camera or on camera, but I'm gonna say it again just in case. This making a movie. Did you?
I said you said it.
I deserve that. I deserve that. Making a movie is a pretty big thing, especially getting into the nitty-gritty. So my philosophy and belief in doing this, like, a bit elongated planning phase, and we haven't even touched the beat sheet yet. That's okay. I think that was what I wanted, but we want to make sure that before we even write interior, exterior on the script, we want to come in with the best idea possible. And we've done sketches before, we've done beat sheets on this. This is a completely different beast. We need to make sure that everything is rock solid, every character makes sense, every emotional beat is earned, justified, and surprising for an audience, but still fun to watch. There's a lot that goes into the planning. It's probably the planning of the movie is where the movie becomes what it is. Then we just get to, once we start writing lines of dialogue and action, it's gonna go by pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And so this is the meat of the actual, like, back and forth brainstorming right now. And I think we're off to a pretty good start. I gotta say, we've got a pretty good, interesting, something never before seen, really, setting, setup, premise. We've got outlines of 2 pretty interesting characters that I would like to follow for 90 minutes and learn more about. We have inklings of what the plot could be. We have at least a structure of something that we want to stick to, or a philosophy of a structure, being a bit more stripped down and not super embellished in the plot. That's where, like, the visuals and, like, the set pieces maybe come into play, but the plot itself will be, I think, pretty economical, but still tense and strong. And we've got the setup of some pretty cool lore that we'll continue to build through research.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I've written 2 feature films before. This is my 3rd, and I think we're at a place where I feel more confident coming into a beat sheet than I ever have before.
Yeah.
And that's saying something because I've adapted a play that was already pretty solid but needed a lot of work to make into a movie. I feel better about going into a beat sheet here than I did with a play that was already a thing.
Okay.
So that's saying something, I think.
That is. And to add on to that, so that I feel somewhat intelligent, in some of my solo sessions, I had to redo some plot points because I realized, that doesn't work here because of this or this. Or maybe just for filming's sake, I need to make them gender neutral so that it's easier to cast that role or something like that. And it's just like, when a script is 5 to 10 pages long, you usually, in a 5-page script, it's usually a few lines. In a 10-page script, it might be at most a page that you have to alter. So it's like, to your point, it's like, in this case, if this occurs, it's a lot more pages for like a singular beat. It's going to be minimum maybe 3 to 5 pages, and that's the minimum of restructuring stuff. And the max is like, I mean, it could go up to 20, 25 pages. So it's just like
for a whole beat. Like all of the sketches that we've wrote, the 3 to 5 pages, that's like the length of one scene.
Yeah.
Okay, and if there's glaring issues in the script, that's a lot of scenes that we're gonna have to restructure, and that's a lot of pages.
Yeah.
So going in with something shaky is not advisable.
We're a bit more carefree with the sketches. Usually doing 1 per episode with, I think, 2 exceptions. But it's one of those things where it's like, it's okay because, well, number one, it's a sketch. So it's like, even if you screw it up on a couple of points, it's not really a big deal, and it could even turn out better because of those screw-ups.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think features are, while there could still be good screw-ups, it's better to just have a decreased chance of screw-ups with more planning. So that's why we've spent around 2 hours doing nothing but not shutting up about what we're gonna do. But
now is the time to act. Hopefully, we'll come in. Let me set up the next episode. Hopefully, we're gonna come in. We're gonna have done some research, done some more thinking. No more PowerPoint presentations. We'll maybe talk off camera again and come up with some semblance of a direction to go plot-wise, and then the final time, or the first time, we'll put words on our beat sheet. Hopefully we can come up with an entire beat sheet in one episode. If not, maybe get to around the midpoint and see where we're looking.
Yeah, I would. Yeah,
but
I would argue 2 episodes minimum for this beat sheet.
But we're getting there.
We are getting there, and I'm definitely gonna take a look at some Wild West things. I actually, fun fact, and this is a disgrace for me, I haven't seen The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and as a film major, I think that's a problem. So I might need to watch that. But
have you seen any of those Dollar Trilogy films? Oh, you might want to start from the beginning. I don't think you have to, but A Fistful of Dollars is probably my favorite Western movie.
Okay.
Oh, it goes A Fistful of Dollars, A Few Dollars More, and then The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. So it's like the third movie in the trilogy.
I didn't know it was a trilogy.
Yeah.
I thought it was just one movie. I didn't. No, nobody.
It's like a Bond trilogy, you know, where there's loose connections, but it's not like required viewing.
Nobody told me this. I spent 4 years in undergrad and nobody told me this.
Did you ask someone this?
No, I thought it was one movie. I didn't need to. I didn't know I needed to ask.
By asking.
Oh no! I'm gonna have to turn on the music more for this section. Okay.
But I just say that because the first one's my personal favorite. I prefer it over
fair.
Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Okay. Well, yeah.
But do I need to? Actually, no. I'm gonna let you do the YouTube things now. I do it in all the episodes. You do all the YouTuber stuff.
All right,
I'm gonna sit back and
shitters.
watch this.
Leave a comment hating on us. That's fine. Leave a like or don't. I don't care. You can subscribe. That helps us out. Or if you want to be a little,
Yeah, go ahead.
You know, you can
Yeah, okay.
you can not do that, and that's fine. It's free to subscribe, and it's not, and you know, it's like if you're coming back here constantly, subscribing just kind of makes life easier for you. So it's like, use that little pea brain of yours. Man, I
you don't
can't-
have to.
Yeah, and you know what I realized by saying
Don't
that
have
is
to
I'm not the smartest person. I said Sudan was in the Middle East, so like I'm just like, you
That
know,
just goes back to the geography bit, you know.
I suck at geography, but yeah, subscribe. Oh, I'll put this, Editor Cole. If you're feeling not lazy, oh man, he's gonna hate me again. Put our channel's Instagram somewhere. Braydan has done some work while I was out of town and has created an Instagram, which he's doing a wonderful job on.
Thank you.
So give us a follow on there. You'll see some clips and crazy things going on there. News updates and whatnot about what we're doing. Am I missing anything on that?
I think we're good.
Okay.
You know what? I'm proud. I'm proud of you. You did good. You did good.
Yeah. Oh, I guess while we are working on this feature, we will do breaks every so often to do like sketches, do our usual routine. Let us know if there's something.
Hopefully bring some guests on also.
Yep, guests.
Have more guest episodes.
Let us know if there's something you want to see in that regard. Whether it's type of guest, type of sketch, a short film.
Yeah, let us know.
I'm playing with the idea of a song because I think that would be hilarious. But
that would be really fun.
We would do a comedy song for sure.
Yeah, and we would bring on someone who actually knows a thing or two about songwriting.
True. Yeah. But yeah. So just let us know.
If you'd be into that idea.
Is this a Wednesday episode? This is a Wednesday episode. We'll see
Is
you.
it a Wednesday episode?
I think it's
Oh,
a
it is?
Wednesday.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see you Saturday.
Bye, everybody.
Yeah, bye.